Hey everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here. So if you follow me on Twitter, which you should, at wizard_Matt, I put it out on my Twitter if you wanted me to review a new movie today or do the Invasion CW crossover event with the Pharaohverse. And in rousing numbers, the Pharaohverse won, which is awesome because I never get to talk about it.
Best team up ever!
So I have been a big fan of the CW universe, or it's been dubbed the Pharaohverse, ever since Arrow first came out. I initially jumped on it, absolutely loved it, and have been a big fan of all the shows they've been doing so far. And every year, since Flash came out, they've been doing a crossover event. The first season of Flash had Flash versus Arrow and Brave and the Bold.
You missed. No.
Flash versus Arrow, the epic two-night event.
Where Flash and Arrow crossed over on each other's shows and was a big deal. Second year, the next year they did Legends of Today, Legends of Yesterday, which was the build-up to the Legends of Tomorrow TV show.
Eternity.
No, Kendra!
Flash and Arrow, heroes join forces to...
And this year we get Invasion, the 4-part crossover event crossing over Supergirl, Arrow, Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow all together into one big, massive event. So let's get into it. So I don't want to get bogged down in a lot of details, so spoilers for anything that's going on any of these shows now, and pretty much for this event, because it's hard to talk about without just getting into spoilers. And I'm just going to break down each show, what happened and what I thought and things like that. So before really getting into it again, there isn't really a crossover with Supergirl. Supergirl is in the event, but the episode of Supergirl that builds into it really doesn't tie into everything overall. There is a shot at the very end of Flash coming into her universe and asking for her help. But that whole scene is actually shown again in the Flash episode, so you could really skip Supergirl. Unless you want a really good episode about an alien virus on top of a lot of strong character development and some really interesting things going on, if that sort of thing interests you. But really, the crossover event is Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. So finally, let's get into it. So let's start with the Flash episode. So the plot is Barry Allen, the Flash, discovers that aliens have crash landed in Central City, and they're known as the Dominators, which is a known alien race in the DC universe, so that's an awesome nod right to begin with. And they look very comic accurate and pretty awesome for TV standards. So then the Flash goes to Star City and recruits Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, John Diggle, the Spartan, Felicity Smoke, also known as Overwatch, and Thea Queen decides to come out of retirement and join up as Speedy. So they all go back to Central City, and then their message is sent out to the Legends of Tomorrow that they're going to need help, and they arrive and join up. And then the Flash goes off into another universe and recruits Supergirl and brings her into the fight as well, kind of giving us our main team. Then there's a big training montage where they decide the aliens are a lot like Supergirl, so they should train against Supergirl. So a lot of people fighting Supergirl and kind of training up. So then it's found out that the president has been kidnapped and they have to go rescue the president. And at this time there's a lot of trust issues going on with the Flash, a lot of stuff built into other episodes, and again I don't want to get into too many details. So the Flash and Green Arrow stay behind while Spartan, White Canary, Atom, Supergirl, Firestorm, Heatwave, and Speedy all go to save the president. That's a lot of people. And during this time, there's a lot of good character development between Green Arrow and Flash, and some really good moments there. But when they go to save the president, they end up failing, and the president gets killed, as well as they all get mind control. So there ends up being this big battle between all the people I just said that went to help the president and Flash and Arrow, and kind of becomes a hero-on-hero battle, which apparently this year is the in thing to do. So there's a big battle between all of them, and they find the signal of the mind control device. Felicity Smoke does that, as well as Cisco Ramon. They find, the signal for that, and they go off, and the Flash decides to break off to destroy this, with Supergirl trailing behind her, and he tricks Supergirl into destroying the mind control device, kind of breaking everyone off, and then they kind of get all back together and decide how to take on these aliens. And when they're doing that, Green Arrow, Atom, Spartan, Speedy, and is that everyone? That might be. I think that's everyone. Those people all get abducted by aliens, leading us into the Arrow episode. Yeah, this is a big crazy episode already to shoot off. There is some really great character moments, and it's a very fun episode. And honestly, my favorite moment in this entire crossover is right here.
My friend Kara Danvers, or as she's known on her Earth, Supergirl.
What makes her so super?
Well,
and it just gave me a lot of goosebumps. I really enjoyed it. And it is a good startup to this whole event. And there's a little bit of build-up to Wally West becoming Kid Flash, which is pretty cool. And some really good stuff going on. So solid start to this crossover. So we get into our Arrow episode. So in this episode, Oliver Queen, Laura Lance, Thea Queen, John Diggle, and Ray Palmer have all been kidnapped by aliens, and they've been put into this Matrix kind of perfect world, showing off what would happen to Oliver Queen if he never went on the Queen's Gambit and was stuck on a deserted island. This is also the 100th episode of Arrow, so it's a big love letter to things that have happened to Arrow before and might happen in the future, and a lot of cool stuff going on there. And it's a lot of character buildup, a lot of emotional moments, and Stephen Amell is fantastic in this. There's a lot of cameos. I don't want to go into too many spoilers. A lot of good cameos, a lot going on. So while they're on the alien ship, Cisco Ramon and Felicity Smoke and Flash and Supergirl all decide, of course, they need to find these missing people. So they go to the bunker or the Arrow Cave, to figure out where they are. And Mr. Terrific, Wild Dog, and Ragman are all there to help assist, and they decide they need some sort of technobabble thing to be able to find out where their friends are. So Supergirl, Flash, Mr. Terrific, Ragman, and Wild Dog all go off to get whatever technobabble thing they need to do. And it's sort of like this small side quest to break up the main plot. It's definitely the B plot. Nothing of real note happens at that point. It's just kind of a thing, and they are pretty successful. They get their thing, and they come back. In the Arrow section of this, in the Matrix universe, or whatever's going on, so Oliver's kind of been given this perfect life, and you can kind of see, the decisions that he's made and how they affect people, yet he knows this isn't a real world. And I thought it felt a lot like an episode of Batman the Animated Series where Mad Hatter put Bruce Wayne in a perfect universe where his parents didn't die. And it's a lot like that, and it's a lot of cool moments, a lot of heartfelt moments, and pretty awesome. So they escape this universe, and they're on an alien ship, and they steal an alien ship to escape, and they're being, tracked by other aliens and being shot at, and then the Wave Rider from Legends of Tomorrow picks them up, and then we move on to our Legends of Tomorrow episode. So this one, action-wise, is probably the weakest. There's not a lot of big action scenes going on. There's a small one between everyone that's been kidnapped and all the past villains of all the Arrow seasons, which was pretty cool. But again, wasn't that big. It was just kind of a thing, and you knew they weren't real at that point. And there, of course, was the battle with the Team Arrow and getting whatever Technobabble device. But this one, I think, was the most emotional episode. Stephen Amell, again, was fantastic. Had a lot of heartfelt moments, a lot of interesting, cool moments, to see how far Arrow has come in its 100 episodes, as well as, really seeing Oliver Queen living his decisions and deciding what was right, what was wrong with what he did with all his decisions. And it was a really well put together episode and very solid. Again, weak on the action, but solid on the emotion. So moving on. So finally, the climax of the crossover event in the Legends of Tomorrow episode. So after the Wave Rider rescues all the kidnapped people, they decide they need to kidnap an alien to figure out their overall invasion plan. And they know that the aliens visited Earth in Oregon in 1951, so they send a team in the Wave Rider to kidnap an alien back in 1951. So Commander Steel, Vixen, Felicity Smoke, Heatwave, and Cisco Ramon all get in the Wave Rider and go back to 1951 to kidnap an alien. In the meantime, in our regular timeline, White Canary, Flash, Green Arrow, and the Atom were told they need to meet with the president. This is the new president because back in the Flash episode, the president was killed. So this is the vice president, now president, that they're trying to meet with. So they're doing that thing. So back in 1951, all the people that went back got kidnapped by the government as well as with one of the aliens, and they're all being held together, the alien and all the people that went back in time. And they find out that the Dominators kind of monitor all life beings and look for meta powers and how dangerous they are, and they decided that since Barry Allen has been going back in time, changing things, that he is too dangerous, as well as metahumans in general are dangerous, and they need to destroy all metahumans. Back on Earth, or back on the regular timeline, I should say, all the people that went to meet the president ends up it's a government entity, not the president. And there's a little bit of a fight scene, and they tell them that the Dominators told them if Barry Allen gives himself up, that they won't invade Earth. So there's that whole thing. So then the people from 1951 come back, and they tell them, what they found out, and but they decide, they are probably lying if Barry gives himself up that they won't invade. So they need to defend the Earth. So this time the Dominators start dropping a bomb that's going to destroy all mankind. And in the meantime, they drop a lot of minions on Earth to distract all the heroes from stopping the bomb. And it becomes this big whole thing where they're fighting the aliens and stopping the bomb and breaking into groups. And a lot of cool stuff happens. It's this big old overblown final event. And it's pretty awesome. Like I said, spoilers, of course they win, and, a lot of stuff, and, they're all brought together in a party and kind of wrap things up and sort of dissipate into their own shows once again. And that's pretty much the end of the event. So what worked well about this overall arcing event? So I watched this all in one shot. I got all the episodes. I didn't know Supergirl didn't really tie in, so I watched 4 episodes all in one go to kind of see how it felt like if it was a movie. So the main thing I noticed, even though these tie together as a single event, each episode still felt like that episode of a show. The Flash episode felt like a Flash episode. Arrow felt like Arrow. Legends felt like Legends. And that was really cool how they tied together, yet they were still sort of their own thing. Obviously, you need to see all the other episodes to tie them all together. But I thought that was kind of a cool thing to keep their own style without it. The other thing I liked is, so Supergirl, aliens are a thing, and it's a known thing, but that's another universe. So in the Flash Arrow universe, I guess, the aliens have not been introduced. But the alien invasion is just accepted along with metahumans, Why not aliens? And I kind of like that. It wasn't a whole like, aliens, no, that's not real. It's like, okay, aliens, sure, why not? So not a lot of that, stupid built-up things like that. So that was really cool, as well as this is definitely a love letter to the fans. A lot of stuff going on, and it really feels like a lot of payoff if you take the time and watch all 4 of these episodes, or all 4 of the shows. You kind of get a lot of what's going on. Now, Supergirl doesn't tie in as much. She is a big part of the crossover, but her show doesn't tie in a lot. And I don't know if that's because it was written before CW got Supergirl altogether. I don't know. So Supergirl's not quite as much tied in. But if you're watching the other 3 shows, this is a big payoff to, your time of watching these shows and kind of bringing them all together. And that was fantastic. A great, love letter to the fans. Like a lot of my explanation probably sounds like nonsense if you haven't been watching these shows. So, I really like how they can do that. And it's not, they don't take a lot of time to really explain things. It's just, if you know where we are, if you know where we are, we're just going to go and you're going to come with us. And it's very accepting of that. All the action scenes were solid. All the effects were really good for TV. The Arrow episode, being the 100th episode, was a real love letter to see how far we've come. And overall, this whole thing is a great idea of how far this universe has come, how much it's built up, all the characters that are in it, and it was just incredibly well done for that, and it's just awesome. But of course, it's not perfect. There are some things that fall a little flat. The first thing is they were kind of missing some people. Not every character from all the shows are in every episode, and I feel like that's a big missed opportunity. A lot of the Flash characters were only in the Flash episode. Team Arrow was only in the Team Arrow episode. And a lot of, Commander Steel and Vixen were only in the Legends of Tomorrow episode. And I don't know if that was a scheduling conflict or a contractual conflict or what happened, but they really missed an opportunity to have everybody all in one shot. I mean, they do a lot of group shots where handfuls of each team are all together and you get to see them fight, and it's pretty cool.
Wait till you meet her.
Hey, everyone!
Oh, I've had enough of this.
But how, crazy awesome would have been to see, Green Arrow, Spartan, Speedy, Wild Dog, Ragman, Mr. Terrific, Flash, Firestorm, White Canary, Heatwave, Atom, Commander Steel, Vixen, Kid Flash. Is that everybody? Supergirl, of course. All together, one big shot of everybody in this universe. How awesome would have that been? And I thought they were building up to that too, and they didn't quite do it. Because Team Arrow was only in the Team Arrow episode, so they didn't get to be in the final conflict. And Vixen and Commander Steel weren't in the initial Flash episode. So there's just a lot of missed opportunities to have every single person going and having just a huge kind of just one shot of everybody to really see how this universe has come together. Again, I don't know if there's some sort of conflict there, scheduling-wise, but that would have been great, and I really missed that. The other thing I noticed was there were some weird character motivations that were brought up and resolved very simply. Like Cisco Ramon has had a problem with Barry Allen off and on this whole season, which I won't get into, but it kind of dissolved in the main show, but then is brought full front main force, like this is a thing. And I almost forgot that was a thing, that Cisco had a problem with Barry Allen until this, and it's like, oh yeah, that was a thing, isn't it? We're still doing that, aren't we? All right, and it sort of gets resolved. Wild Dog out of nowhere has a problem with metahumans, and it's not brought up in Arrow ever, and it's resolved really quickly, and it's like, why? And then this isn't every crossover, but Green Arrow acts way darker in the crossover events than he ever does in his own show. And I don't know if they're trying to show off that the Green Arrow's the darker show or what's going on there. But yeah, Oliver Queen acts way more dark in the crossover events than he ever does in his own show. And one last missed opportunity is at the end, of course, they had all the aliens all over the world, invading. And Arrow has dropped Bloodhaven so many times, and I think they even went to Bloodhaven at one point. How cool would it have been to introduce Nightwing into this? Like, just have a shot of Nightwing fighting some aliens. That would have been amazing. Or even introduce him as a full-on character. How great would have that been? Or, Supergirl got to use Superman. How goddamn mind-blowing would it have been to have Batman? Like, they can do it. They have the rights. How freaking nuts would it have been to have Batman in this invasion event? Holy crap. And it's just... they didn't do that, and I thought that would have been cool. As well as all the crossover events ended up building up to something. The first one was the first time we see Green Arrow and Flash together, and it's kind of a big deal to see these characters interacting together, full costume, fighting together is really great. The second one was the build up to the Legends of Tomorrow. This one, I don't think built up to anything. They sort of, hint at Wally West becoming Kid Flash, but I think that's going to be more resolved in Flash. So I thought they were building up to seeing Kid Flash full costume ready to go. They really didn't. I thought this really could have been a good build up to having Batman or the Bat family or something new. But really, although it's, a big event, I don't think it's going to have a lot of consequences in the end. It didn't build up to anything new or different. It was just everyone all together. And, had moments, it was great, but in the end, I don't think it's going to have a lot of ending consequences. It was just this event, and now we're dissipating into our own shows. Granted, as the shows go on this season, maybe more happens, but for the most part, it felt like we were just going to have this event and we're all just going to break off and do our own thing now. And that's where I think a missed opportunity was introducing something new, something different, and bringing freaking Nightwing. If you're going to drop Bloodhaven that much, give us freaking Nightwing. Damn it. Okay, so I've rambled long enough. So overall, what did I think of the Invasion crossover event? It was great. I got goosebumps at certain points. There's a lot of interactions between characters, and it's a big event that really raises the stakes of previous crossover events and was fantastic. It does have a couple flaws with, like I said, character motivations, some missed opportunities, but overall is very satisfying, and if you're a fan of these shows, it's right up your alley. It's fantastic. That being said, of course, if you have never seen any of these shows, you're going to be absolutely lost. There's so much backstory going on that if you haven't seen any of these shows, you're absolutely lost. If you can if you make through it and just enjoy the spectacle, it might interest you in the other shows, but for the most part, this is for the fans. This isn't to get new people, I don't think. I think this is more... here's how big our universe has gotten, how cool is it, and to finally really bring in Supergirl into this universe because she was, off on, CBS or whatever before, so now she's on CW, and she can bring in this universe more often. But yeah, it was great. Supergirl was fantastic, Arrow was fantastic, Flash is always fantastic. It was a really great, enjoyable event. And yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I said that word a lot, but goddamn it fits. So yeah, great crossover event. I can't wait to see what happens next year with their event or what characters we're going to get. DC has been freaking killing it with these shows. They've all been just great, and I can't wait to see what happens. So until next time, I'm Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Hold on to your hold slots.